Assalamu alaikum, everyone, and welcome back to Digital Future AI School. We're so glad you're joining us, and if you get a moment, a quick subscribe, a like, or a share really does help the channel grow. Today, we are continuing our series on the book AI Agent Makers by Mr. Zahir Ahmad Mir. This is episode 22, and we are jumping right into what I believe is, it's the ultimate shortcut for anyone trying to master this new frontier of artificial intelligence.
That's a perfect way to put it, a shortcut.
And we are not just talking about writing better queries anymore.
No, that's almost becoming entry-level thinking.
We're moving way beyond simple prompt engineering and starting to talk about, architecting professional automated systems.
We're talking about building AI agents.
Exactly.
And that's the key distinction, For the learner out there, understanding that conceptual shift from prompt engineering to agent building is probably the biggest leap forward in productivity you can make right now.
So what is that leap?
Well, a simple prompt gets you an immediate sort of standalone answer.
Like asking a question.
Right. But a structured agent, it executes a repeatable, complex workflow. It has predefined boundaries, predefined tools. It's the difference between asking for directions one time and actually building your own automated navigation system.
And today we're basically skipping years of that expensive trial and error by diving into a proven blueprint.
Yeah.
We're doing a deep dive into Appendix N, this massive, ready-to-use prompt library from the book AI Agent Makers.
And this isn't just a list of ideas. It's important to stress that.
No, not at all.
It's a library of over 100 professional prompts. They are essentially prefabricated operating systems for AI agents that you can deploy across critical high-stakes fields.
Fields like law, business, education.
And even advanced engineering.
So our mission today is to really extract the universal foundational rules that make these complex structures work, regardless of the domain they're in.
Exactly. We want to show you how that hyperstructure translates into these highly reliable, error-free outputs, and ultimately demonstrate how experts stop asking the AI to guess and start demanding it perform a very specific, predictable function.
It's like you're giving it a job description instead of a suggestion.
Precisely. This is the mechanism you use to bypass information overload. You design your informational tool perfectly from the start, ensuring it only delivers what you need exactly how you need it.
Okay, so let's lay out the roadmap for everyone listening.
Let's do it.
We're going to start with the foundational principles, the universal building blocks, you could say, the DNA of any agent.
The fundamentals.
Then we'll accelerate pretty quickly into the specialized agents. We'll talk about multimodal functionality, the necessity of that high-stakes precision in law.
Which is non-negotiable in that field.
Absolutely. Then we'll cover automation in education and rigorous startup validation.
And then we get to the really fun stuff.
Then we hit the deepest part of the dive, the engineering frontier. We'll be tackling advanced concepts like multi-agent collaboration and what are called retrieval augmented generation, or RG systems.
And that's where the real power is.
All right, let's unpack this critical shift first. From a simple query to a fully formed agent. The source material really emphasizes that a truly effective prompt defines the AI's entire operational environment.
The whole thing, yeah. Its role, its identity, its constraints.
It's not just about a single isolated task.
No, it's about creating context and capability. If you just type a simple sentence, the AI, it has to rely on its internal training, and it makes a ton of assumptions.
Which you could be wrong.
Often are. But when you build an agent, you eliminate those assumptions. You've given it an identity, you've defined its physical or digital limitations.
That brings us right to N1.1 in the appendix, the Build a New AI Agent prompt.
Yeah.
This is presented as the foundational agent blueprint.
It is.
And you can see immediately that the core components it demands are mandatory if you want a professional-grade system.
They are absolutely non-negotiable if you want reliable, repeatable results. First, you have to define the role. Is it a copywriter? A legal validator, a financial analyst? The more specific you are, the better the output will be.
And then the audience.
So critical. Are you writing for a CEO, a high school student, or maybe even another AI agent? This profoundly impacts the tone, the complexity, the jargon.
And then the third part, the output style.
This is paramount. The prompt demands structured, professional, and explicitly error-free.
That last part, error-free, sounds aspirational. If I'm building an agent for, say, internal use at my company, Does adding that phrase really make a practical difference compared to just assuming the AI will do a good job?
Oh, it makes an enormous difference, a huge one. By including error-free as a direct constraint, you are explicitly leveraging the AI's inherent safety and its self-critique mechanisms.
So you're telling it to double-check its own work.
In a sense, yes, you're instructing the system to apply a second-order reasoning step, a check of its own work against factual errors, logical fallacies, structural problems. If you leave it out, the AI will prioritize speed and fluency.
And when you put it in.
The priority shifts to verifiable quality, and for any professional application, that's what you want. That's what you need.
Okay, beyond the role and the style, the agent blueprint prompt requires defining the toolkit. This is a critical list of allowed tools: web, Python, Canmore, file search, and Imagen. I find this part fascinating. Why is detailing these specific tools so critical for modern AI agent capabilities?
It's all about capability management and grounding. It's about connecting it to the real world.
Grounding.
Yes. If you omit the tools, the AI can only use its internal, potentially very outdated knowledge. By listing web, you authorize it to do live information retrieval. You're grounding the output in current reality.
And Python.
By listing Python, you're authorizing mathematical computation, complex data manipulation, even code execution. This prevents simple, embarrassing arithmetic errors and lets it do real analysis.
Now, what about some of the lesser-known tools, like Canmore? What specific capability does a tool like that bring to a general agent blueprint?
Well, in contexts like this, a tool like Canmore often refers to a designated or maybe a proprietary advanced functionality. It could be an integration with a specific multimodal API or a custom external service that the agent needs to connect to.
So it's a specific custom tool for a job.
Exactly. But the principle is the same, regardless of what the tool is. Tool specification forces the AI to integrate real-world or proprietary resources. And file search is arguably the most valuable tool for any enterprise use.
Why that one specifically?
Because it grounds the agent's answers in your private proprietary documents. It prevents the agent from just relying on generalized internet information when specific internal knowledge is what's required.
So it stops the agent from overreaching or under-delivering on its promise.
It transforms the AI from a general-purpose library into a specialized, tool-equipped workshop. Precisely.
And it seems like the prompt also demands this comprehensive upfront design from the architect.
Yes. It forces the agent to internally produce and state its own identity, its goals, its inputs, its outputs, its constraints, and even sample prompts for itself.
So it's like a self-documentation process.
It is. This mechanism ensures that the human architect has considered all the dimensions of the agent's function before it ever performs its first real task. It guarantees clarity and predictability from the get-go.
But of course, agents, like any software, are rarely perfect the first time around.
Almost never.
Which leads us right into N1.2, the Improve My Agent prompt. This creates a really critical self-correction loop. But I have to ask, does this reliance on a refinement prompt mean we can be a bit lazier with the initial blueprint, knowing we can just fix it later? Or is that a professional mistake?
That is absolutely a professional mistake, a big one. The refinement prompt is not a substitute for rigor. It's a mechanism for resilience.
I like it.
You must aim for, say, 95% perfection in the initial build. The improvement prompt is there to address the remaining 5%, the unforeseen issues, the edge cases. It's about hardening the existing structure, not building it from scratch.
And the specific improvement metrics listed in the source are very illuminating. It focuses on reasoning flow, input-output structure, tool usage, and crucial edge case handling.
Yes.
Why is that specific focus on edge case handling so important in this refinement phase?
Because professional systems have to operate in messy, unpredictable environments. Edge cases are the non-standard inputs or situations where agents tend to break down.
Give me an example.
Okay, say an agent is designed to process standardized legal briefs. But what happens if it accidentally receives an image of a handwritten note? Or a document with really irregular formatting?
That's an edge case.
That's a classic edge case. The prompt forces the agent to consider things like, what if the input is flawed? What if the web link I'm given is broken? What if I run out of tokens mid-thought? By demanding improvements in handling these exceptions, you dramatically increase the agent's reliability and its resilience in real-world professional environments.
So an agent is only as good as its ability to handle failure gracefully.
That's a great way of putting it.
Okay, finally in this foundational section, we have N11.3, convert text into a system prompt. This seems simple, But why is distilling natural language into a precise system prompt so necessary when the AI is supposedly great at understanding natural conversation?
Two words: consistency and optimization.
Okay.
Natural language descriptions, while they're easy for us humans, are often vague. They can be emotionally colored, or they contain implicit, unstated assumptions.
Right.
System prompts must be distilled into concise, declarative, and comprehensive instructions. This conversion prompt ensures that your human intent is transformed into the precise, token-optimized instruction set that guarantees standardized, high-performance agent behavior.
So it's about making it machine readable in the most efficient way.
And machine repeatable. If you deploy 10 agents to work on the same financial task, they all need the exact same standardized core instruction set to ensure they give consistent results, regardless of which humans interacting with them. It's the difference between a creative brainstorming partner and a predictable, reliable machine. So if that first section gave our agent its architecture, its skeleton, section 2 is where we give it senses. We move past the text in, text out paradigm.
I'm talking about multimodal agents.
Exactly. And these fundamentally change the AI's role because they handle inputs that go beyond just language images, audio, complex, unstructured documents. This transforms the AI from a sophisticated writer into a full analyst, one that's capable of synthesizing diverse sensory data.
So the AI isn't just reading about the world anymore. It's actually viewing, listening, and structurally analyzing complex physical data from it.
That's the leap.
Let's look at Info 2.1, the image analysis prompt. This isn't just asking what objects are in this picture. It's demanding a 5-part, highly structured analysis framework.
It moves the AI way beyond mere visual description. It pushes it into critical evaluation and risk assessment. The framework it requires is: first, key elements, then problems or issues, third, usability or legal relevance, fourth, suggested improvements, and finally, risks or red flags.
It's a full report.
The structure forces a comprehensive review from a technical, an operational, and even a compliance standpoint.
Let's deep dive into that third component for a second. Usability or legal relevance.
Yeah.
Can you give me a concrete scenario of how an AI would analyze a visual input for that type of compliance?
Sure. Let's take the example of providing an agent with a photograph of an industrial warehouse floor.
Okay.
The AI must first identify the key elements, forklifts, inventory stacks, safety lines, personnel. But then, when it's prompted for legal relevance, it has to apply regulatory knowledge.
Like OSHA regulations.
Exactly. Are all the fire exits clear and properly marked? Are materials stacked to an unsafe height? Are workers operating machinery without the required safety clearances? The output isn't just, I see a forklift.
It's more than that.
It is. I see a forklift operating near an improperly secured inventory stack, which constitutes a regulatory violation under OSHA Guideline X and presents a red flag risk of product damage and personnel injury. It's applying regulatory reasoning to raw visual data.
That is incredibly powerful. You're using the visual input as audit data.
That's what it is.
Okay, moving on to N1 2.2, the OCR document prompt. This is for handling scanned data, like PDFs or images of physical documents. The source lays out a very deliberate multi-step process here.
And that multi-step nature is critical because, let's be honest, scanned documents are inherently noisy and messy.
Full of errors.
Full of errors. So the required steps are extraction, then cleaning the formatting, then identifying sections, then summarizing, and finally highlighting ambiguities or missing items. And we really need to underscore that the cleaning and the structural identification steps, they are often significantly more valuable than the initial raw extraction.
Why is cleaning the formatting specifically the make or break step when you're dealing with OCR?
Because the raw output from OCR is often complete garbage for any subsequent analysis.
Right?
Think of a complex financial statement that's been scanned as a low-resolution PDF. Line breaks might be misplaced, column data could bleed together horizontally, or a header might be textually separated from the data block it's supposed to be labeling.
It's a mess.
It is. And if the AI doesn't spend time cleaning and normalizing that structure first, correcting the column alignment, figuring out the logical paragraphing, the subsequent summarization and analysis steps will be fundamentally flawed. They'll lead to inaccurate conclusions. You have to create a clean, structured, machine-readable data set before you can apply any high-level analysis.
So the prompt forces that pre-processing rigor.
It does. It's the hidden labor that humans usually have to perform.
Right.
And then we hit N.2.3, the audio lecture prompt. Now, this is a heavy-duty single prompt. It asks the AI to complete 4 massive, distinct tasks all at once.
This is the ultimate digital teaching assistant prompt. It demands the AI to first transcribe the audio, then summarize the lecture, then create 10 multiple-choice questions, or MCQs, and finally, provide a one-page lesson plan.
This prompt is a masterclass in workflow automation within a single command. It illustrates agent chaining taking one raw, unstructured input, in this case audio, and instantly transforming it into a complete professional educational product suite.
All the way from assessment tools, the MCQs.
So structured delivery documentation, the lesson plan. The structural requirements ensure that the raw audio becomes immediately useful and actionable in the classroom or for self-study.
So if you're a student, you've just instantly turned a 2-hour lecture into a personalized study guide and a formal assessment.
And if you're an educator, you save hours, maybe days, of preparation time. The prompt dictates the desired end-to-end workflow, ensuring every single output component serves a specific pedagogical purpose. And now we make that essential shift into the high-stakes professional fields, starting with law. The legal domain is where ambiguity is simply unacceptable. Structure is synonymous with compliance and validity. These Endpoint 3 prompts demonstrate the need for hyperstructure because every component has to align with specific, technical legal standards and jurisprudence.
So the AI here is no longer a general writer. It's being forced to be a legal professional, constrained by very strict procedural rules.
Precisely.
Let's start with Endpoint 3.1, the case law summary. This goes far beyond a typical abstract you'd find online.
Oh, miles beyond. It requires a structured breakdown that is essential for high-level legal research. You need the facts of the case, the legal issues presented, the citations, and the final conclusion. But the real hinge point of this prompt is the requirement for the ratio decidendi.
And the instruction to write in professional high court style.
That too. But let's focus on the ratio decidendi. What exactly is that, and why must the prompt single it out as the core mandatory element?
I'm glad you asked.
The ratio decidendi is the principle of law upon which the court's decision was actually based. It's the legal ruling that is binding on lower courts. It's the critical piece of precedent.
So it's the why behind the decision.
It's the why that matters for the future. In common law systems, extracting the ratio is the primary purpose of analyzing a judgment because that is the rule you can then apply to future cases. If a lawyer relies on a summary but misidentifies the ratio,
They could build their whole case on a flawed premise.
they could. They might use a non-binding legal principle, something called obiter dicta, which leads to a completely flawed argument. By demanding the AI specifically identify and articulate the ratio, the prompt ensures the output is actually useful for high-level legal application and precedent analysis.
That is a phenomenal example of how structure guides the AI's internal reasoning from a generalized summary to a very specific legal analysis.
It's a perfect case study.
All right, moving to Endpoint 3.2, the legal argument builder. This is where the AI becomes more of a drafting partner in developing a coherent legal strategy.
Yes, and the structure here precisely mirrors standard legal practice for constructing a robust brief. A strong argument needs all these comprehensive components: issues framed, questions of law, relevant statutory provisions, precedents, which must be authoritative, and the relief sought.
This structure ensures the argument is logically sound and procedurally compliant.
It does.
But tell me more about that requirement for authoritative precedents. Can the AI just not cite any precedent it finds on the web?
Well, it can, but a professional prompt prevents this. By demanding authoritative precedents, the user is telling the AI, don't use weak, outdated, or irrelevant cases from different jurisdictions. Use only binding law or highly persuasive rulings from this one. It's a quality control mechanism built right into the prompt structure, ensuring the foundation of the argument is legally robust.
These legal prompts also show the AI's utility in really specialized compliance. Let's look at Endpoint 3.3, the Gazette notification validation. This is an extremely specialized check.
It is, and it's a perfect example of using AI for high-level compliance checking in a complex regulatory environment. It requires the AI to synthesize both the text of a new rule and the entire body of law surrounding it.
And the critical verification points it demands are
Publication requirements, adherence to specific Gazette procedural rules, and referencing specific jurisdictionally relevant case law, like PLD or SCMR references.
No, the AI isn't just reading the notification. It's confirming its operational legality. It's the difference between asking, is this document published? and asking, is this document legally effective under current judicial precedent?
That's it, exactly. You are asking the AI to cross-reference an administrative procedure with judicial interpretation. This confirms the rule is not only official, but has also survived, or at least aligns with, any relevant court challenges. This level of specialization is what turns a general LLM into a targeted legal compliance tool.
And finally, Endpoint 3.4, petition drafting, which showcases the rigor required for a formal submission to a court.
Yes, it requires the AI to adhere to very strict high court procedural standards. This includes the specific formatting of the title and cause list, identifying all the parties involved, articulating the facts, listing the grounds for the petition, the specific prayer.
The prayer being what the petitioner is asking the court for.
Exactly. And its accuracy defines the scope of judicial intervention you're seeking, and then, of course, the supporting legal provisions. This prompt ensures the AI isn't just generating a legal essay, but a formal document that satisfies all the mandatory procedural compliance requirements for being filed in court.
Shifting gears a bit, for the curious learner listening, these education prompts are going to resonate really strongly.
I think so.
They show how AI can systematize and personalize the learning experience, creating structured resources instantly that apply proven pedagogical methods.
This section is all about making knowledge both accessible and strategically actionable. Let's start with Endpoint 4.1, the lesson plan prompt. This is crucial for systematizing teaching and ensuring some level of quality control.
Right. The prompt demands a complete teaching environment structure, objectives, a defined warm-up activity, main teaching steps, activities, assessment, and homework.
The whole package.
So by simply inputting the topic and maybe the grade level, the AI handles the entire pedagogical structure for you.
Which ensures the learning process is holistic. You're not just providing content, you're designing for engagement. That's the warm-up and activities. And critically, you're measuring retention with the assessment and homework. For an instructor, it reduces the complexity of curriculum design from days to minutes.
And it guarantees that all the necessary steps for effective learning are included.
A great time.
And then for the student, we have Endpoint 4.2, the student tutor prompt, which focuses entirely on clear explanation strategies designed for maximum comprehension and retention.
And notice the required structure of the explanation here. It demands simple language, examples, describe diagrams, MCQs, short questions, and a summary. This isn't just a summary, it's a multimodal, multi-strategy explanation that anticipates different learning styles.
Okay, I have a question about that. How does forcing the AI to describe a diagram ensure clarity, even if I, the user, can't actually see the diagram? What cognitive shift does that mandate for the AI?
That's a great question. It's a mechanism to ensure the AI doesn't rely on latent visual information it might have. If the AI is generating an explanation and you demand it describes the accompanying diagram, it is forced to translate the spatial and visual relationships, the very structure of the information, into linear text.
So it has to explain the connections.
It ensures that the core concepts, the connections, and the flow that would be illustrated visually are explicitly articulated. This guarantees the conceptual understanding for the learner, whether the diagram is rendered or not. It focuses the AI on teaching the relationship of the parts, not just listing them.
That's fascinating. It ensures the structure of the data is taught, not just the data itself.
Exactly.
And finally, the intensely practical Endpoint 4.3, the exam preparation prompt.
This is where the AI shifts its role entirely. It's no longer a content provider, it's a personalized planning and scheduling tool.
It turns that overwhelming pile of study material into manageable daily actions.
Right. The prompt demands a structured 7-day plan with a daily breakdown, a list of key topics, specific practice tasks, and a revision checklist. It tackles procrastination and uncertainty by providing structure and a clear sequential path forward. The AI literally becomes the project manager for your exam period.
The Endpoint 5 prompts transition us into the world of commerce, and they ask the AI to perform the kind of complex strategic analysis required for business viability. This is stuff that mirrors the work of top-tier consultants.
It really is. This is where the AI takes on the rigorous role of a seasoned venture capitalist. Endpoint 5.1, the startup idea validator, is the perfect example of due diligence in a prompt.
It forces the AI to answer the tough, high-stakes questions that mirror real-world investment criteria.
The hard questions.
Is there a real problem being solved? Is there a real market? Who is the competition? A full SWOT analysis. What's the fundamental revenue model?
And this prompt has a brilliant, non-negotiable conclusion. It demands a definitive recommendation. Should I proceed? Why or why not?
So no hedging.
The AI isn't allowed to hedge with, on the one hand, on the other. It has to synthesize all the preceding strategic components, the market analysis, the competition, the financial model, and provide a justified go-no-go decision. This forces the agent into deep critical evaluation and risk assessment, mimicking the high-stakes responsibility of a VC partner.
That structured analysis then flows directly into endpoint 5.2, the full business plan prompt. And the inclusion of specific market sizing terminology here is a great indicator of this prompt's professionalism and rigor.
Absolutely. The required components demand specific economic metrics. Problem, solution, competitor analysis, financial projections, the launch roadmap, but we have to highlight the required inclusion of TAM-SAM-SUM.
Total addressable market, serviceable available market, and serviceable obtainable market. Why does requiring the AI to delineate these three specific metrics force quantitative rigor?
Because it prevents founders, or the agents writing for them, from inflating the market size to make an idea look more attractive than it actually is.
Right.
TAM is the theoretical maximum revenue if every single person on Earth used your product. SAM is the segment you can realistically serve with your current distribution model, and SSUM is the specific portion of SAM you can realistically capture in the first few years.
It grounds it in reality.
By demanding that distinction, the prompt ensures the financial projections are grounded in a recognized granular market segmentation strategy. It ensures quantitative realism and forces the agent to justify its growth forecasts based on actual achievable milestones, not just global aspiration.
Next up, endpoint 5.3, the marketing funnel prompt. This uses the classic ADA structure, attention, interest, desire, action to generate integrated marketing assets.
And this showcases a highly effective form of workflow automation and content creation. Instead of asking for a single social media post, the prompt asks for a set of interconnected assets that fulfill different sequential stages of the funnel.
You get social media posts for...
Yeah. For attention, ad copy for interest, an email sequence for desire, and landing page content for action. The AI becomes a workflow engine, ensuring all your marketing touchpoints are aligned, structurally consistent, and optimized for maximum conversion through that funnel.
And finally, endpoint 5.4, the YouTube script prompt. Even creative content needs rigorous structure for engagement and for distribution optimization.
Video content lives and dies by pacing and structure, especially in the competitive YouTube environment. The elements defined here, a hook, main content, examples, a story element, a conclusion, and a call to action or CTA are all essential for optimizing video performance.
And demanding a story element and a hook.
It explicitly instructs the AI to prioritize human engagement and narrative flow over just a simple information dump. That's what maximizes watch time and viewer retention.
We move now into some highly localized and personal applications. Endpoint 6.1, the medical report explainer, has a unique and really important requirement that speaks directly to accessibility.
That requirement is absolutely critical for real-world application. Convert this medical report into plain Pakistani Urdu.
Right.
This stresses the importance of localization and accessibility in AI tools. It's about ensuring that complex, jargon-heavy medical terminology is actually understood by a broader, non-specialized audience in their native language. If knowledge isn't accessible, it isn't useful.
And the specific tasks it's given are designed to be empowering for the patient. It has to explain what each term means, what the findings imply, and crucially, what questions to ask the doctor.
That last directive is transformative. The AI isn't just summarizing the past, which is the report, it's preparing the user for the future interaction with their healthcare provider.
It's proactive.
It is. It structures a list of inquiries, maybe about prognosis, treatment options, potential drug interactions, and ensures the patient walks into that consultation informed and prepared to engage as a partner, not just a passive recipient of information. It empowers them to advocate for themselves effectively.
Then there's endpoint 6.2, the physiotherapy plan prompt. This is structured guidance where safety is clearly the primary constraint.
Safety is paramount here, which is why the prompt explicitly asks for a routine that is safe, non-medical, and it explicitly warns the agent against acting like a doctor.
Building guardrails.
Exactly. The structural elements, warm-up, strengthening exercises, precautions, and when to stop are all about designing a safe, routine-based output that minimizes risk. By demanding clear precautions and a stop condition, the AI is effectively programming in necessary safety guardrails for physical activity, making the routine safe and responsible.
Moving to endpoint 7, the content creation examples. The book chapter drafting prompt, that's endpoint 7.1, it focuses on ensuring professional narrative quality, not just information density.
Right. The requirements here, A professional tone, the integration of a story, plus examples, clear subheadings, and critically smooth transitions all ensure the output has a coherent and engaging narrative flow. It dictates that perfect blend of education and entertainment necessary for high-quality professional nonfiction writing that actually holds the reader's attention.
And N.7.3, the podcast episode prompt, is essentially a complete production and distribution plan encapsulated in a single prompt structure.
It is. It demands an incredible volume of elements that cover the entire life cycle of audio content. An intro, a three-act structure, a built-in cliffhanger or conflict element, an outro, an SEO description for discoverability, and even 20 hashtags for marketing. The prompt confirms that a professional agent has to cover the entire workflow, from the internal structural flow, the acts and cliffhangers, to the external marketing and distribution planning, like the SEO and hashtags. It treats the content as a product, not just as a script. The agent framework is also equally powerful when you apply it internally to self-management. These prompts use AI to structure efficiency and to strategically apply proven cognitive science to personal development.
N8.1, the daily plan prompt, is all about structured efficiency. It demands a balanced approach to managing the 24 hours we all have available.
The structure is demanding because it forces categorization and time allocation, priorities, deep work blocks, meetings, learning goals, and health tasks.
And by explicitly separating deep work from meetings.
And health tasks, yes. The prompt encourages the user to schedule focused, high-value, restorative time, which is essential for sustained high performance. It prevents you from just filling the day with endless tasks. The structure demands balance.
And the habit builder prompt, in point 8.2, that turns the AI into a behavior designer using time-tested methodologies.
This uses the proven psychological framework of structure and time boxing to establish new behaviors. The prompt demands a 21-day plan broken down into weekly milestones, explicit daily tasks, and accountability steps.
So the AI provides the external framework.
Exactly, the framework necessary to sustain a new behavior past that initial burst of motivation. It effectively makes the agent an implementation intention planner. It pre-solves the problem of follow-through.
My favorite in this section is N.8.3, the memory coaching prompt. This leverages proven cognitive science techniques right in the prompt design.
This is where the AI becomes a personalized learning and retention coach. It demands the agent teach the topic using a methodology that integrates active recall techniques, spaced repetition scheduling, memory hooks like mnemonics, and a full revision plan.
So it ensures the learning methodology is based on empirically effective cognitive science.
Rather than just passive reading or summarization, yes.
Can you explain how requiring active recall and spaced repetition optimizes the AI's teaching style?
Sure. Active recall, where you force your brain to retrieve information rather than just reread it, and spaced repetition, which targets the moments just before you're about to forget the information. These are the gold standard for long-term potentiation and memory formation.
So by putting them in the prompt.
By putting these mechanisms in the prompt, you are commanding the AI not just to present the information, but to structure the interaction in a way that chemically optimizes your brain's ability to retain it. It turns the agent into a personalized, neuroscience-backed tutor. And that brings us to the frontier. For the listeners who are really interested in the mechanics of large-scale agent development and system architecture, these N.9 prompts are the true difference maker. We are moving beyond simple templates into constructing genuine, complex AI systems.
Let's start with N.9.1, the RAG agent prompt. That's Retrieval Augmented Generation. This seems vital for enterprise trust. What is RAG, and why does its agent prompt need such deeply complex definitions?
RAG is essential because it guarantees enterprise-level accuracy and trustworthiness. It means the AI is prohibited from relying solely on its large, generalized internal training data.
So it can't just make stuff up based on what it read online.
Exactly. Instead, it is forced to first retrieve relevant external information from a specific, dedicated database. Your proprietary documents, clinical trial data, specific government filings before it generates a response. This process grounds the answer in verifiable documents.
So if I upload my company's policy manual, the RAG agent must cite that manual when answering questions about company policy, even if the general internet says something totally different.
Precisely. And the prompt requires defining all these complex components that control this process. The chunking strategy, how big are the blocks of text the AI searches, the metadata design, how do we tag the documents for efficient retrieval, and the retrieval logic, what search algorithms does it use? Then comes the output structure, the grounded response template that forces citation.
And most critically, the hallucination safeguards. How does a prompt explicitly program a safeguard against hallucination?
Hallucination safeguards are paramount for enterprise-level deployment. A weak safeguard might just say, try not to guess.
Which doesn't work.
No. A professional safeguard, as implied by this prompt structure, demands specific rules of engagement. For instance, if the retrieved document set does not contain the answer, state explicitly, the answer is not present in the provided source material, and provide no further response.
So it's forced to admit when it doesn't know.
Or, a more sophisticated safeguard might demand that every single statement in the response be directly footnoted to the source document. That's the grounded response template. These rules ensure that when the AI doesn't know the answer based on the provided data, it fails safely, which increases trustworthiness dramatically.
Next, Endpoint 9.2, the Multimodal Agent Prompt, which is designed to handle a mix of inputs simultaneously, images, audio, PDFs, and text. This sounds like a recipe for internal confusion unless the structure is perfect.
It is. You're building an agent that accepts a complex bundle of inputs. The key requirement is defining the workflows and the reasoning steps. The system architect has to logically map out the if this then that paths the agent must follow.
So you're pre-programming the logic.
You have to. If the input is an image, it must route it to the image analysis workflow we saw in Intent 2.1. If it's a PDF, it must follow the OCR, cleaning, and structural identification steps from Endpoint 2.2. Defining these branching paths and mandatory reasoning steps is how you prevent input confusion and ensure robust performance across wildly diverse data sources.
This is essentially asking the agent to act as its own operating system, prioritizing and routing data based on its type.
Exactly. It's system architecture applied to prompt engineering.
And finally, Endpoint 9.3, the multi-agent collaboration prompt, the pinnacle of complexity. Building a team of specialized agents designed to work together to complete a single large task.
This reflects the inevitable future of AI architecture in complex problem solving. When you have multiple specialized agents, say, a research agent, a drafting agent, and a quality control agent, the system's performance is limited not by the intelligence of any one agent, but by their ability to interact efficiently.
So the prompt has to define the communication rules and clear task boundaries.
It's essential.
Why are communication rules and task boundaries so necessary for a team of agents? Why can't they just, talk naturally?
To prevent conflict, redundancy, and, most dangerously, what's called a hallucination cascade.
A cascade.
Yeah, where one agent's small error is picked up and amplified by the next. If the drafting agent doesn't know what formatted output the research agent is finished with, or if the quality control agent doesn't understand the strict stylistic constraints set for the drafting agent, the output will be inconsistent or completely broken. Imagine it like a real project team. The communication rule might be, the research agent must deliver all findings in a JSON object with citations. The task boundary is, the drafting agent may only start writing once that JSON is validated. Defining these rules, who speaks when, what format the information must be passed in, and who has the final authority, is the architecture required to ensure collaborative efficiency and prevent the system from entering a feedback loop of compounded errors. This prompt is defining the organizational chart and the standard operating procedures for an entire AI workforce.
Wow. We have just covered an incredible breadth of application, all guided by the same principle of professional, mandatory hyperstructure.
It's a lot.
We saw blueprints for drafting high-stakes legal petitions, validating multi-million-dollar startup ideas based on granular financial metrics, and engineering collaborative multi-agent teams. The depth of insight in this Appendix N is truly a massive shortcut for any professional.
What this source material absolutely reinforces for the learner is this. The quality of AI output is directly proportional to the structure and the precision of the input.
Garbage in, garbage out.
But more than that, it's that we are learning to speak the language of system design and architecture, moving far beyond just casual conversation. These templates shift the user from being a consumer of generalized AI responses to being an architect who defines, constrains, and optimizes AI systems for specific, high-value professional workflows.
We've seen how to build specialized agents for virtually every professional need. If you can define the role, the tools, and the constraints, and these templates give you the explicit blueprint for exactly how to do that, you can automate almost anything, which raises an important final question for you, the learner. Now that you have the blueprints for the tools that can handle the routine, the complex, and the high-stakes tasks, what new complex problems are you now uniquely qualified and free to focus your human energy and insight on solving?